let's get on with our speaking section. So your interview will usually happen for anywhere between 11 to 14 minutes. The test consists of an oral interview between the test taker and the examiner. As usual, it is scored on a band of 9 based on 4 parameters. All speaking tests are recorded. Okay, so these are recorded primarily by the IELTS examiner. Okay, in case there is any discrepancy with the marking, and if they want to, let's say if you challenge it, or let's say if they want to revise their marking scheme, then they would use this recording. Otherwise, the recording serves no other purpose. It is just for their internal use. There are 3 parts to this test, and each part fulfills a specific function in terms of interaction pattern, task input, and test taker's output. So there are 3 parts which you need to answer in 11 to 14 minutes. So these are the 4 parameters that I was talking about that are important to assess your band. So first and foremost, they check you for your fluency. That is how fluently you speak. That means how much can you speak in one go. Do you talk with pauses or hesitations? I mean, is it spoiling the way you speak? Is it hindering your style of speaking? Then it will be a problem. If you can talk without self-correction. So sometimes we correct ourselves. We're like, oh sorry, I mean this. Okay, so can you talk without self-correction? Are you able to communicate your ideas clearly? Like, can people understand what you're saying? Are you using good linking devices? Words like, however, I think this is not true. Or to begin with, I feel blah, blah, blah. Okay, or somehow it works like this. Or in spite of this, this is happening. So how well you use your linking devices. So all this would take you to a band of 9. Lexical resource. So what kind of words you use, and how well you paraphrase things to avoid repetition. How well you use your collocations. So yesterday in class we discussed collocations, right? So for example, when we said we spoke about tea, I think, right? So maybe we can take another example today, something like drinker. Usually when someone drinks alcohol, they say he's a heavy drinker. What if I say he's a strong drinker? I mean, that's not right. That's not the right word to use with the word drinker. We usually use the word heavy. So you need to continue to use that. So use your collocations well. The correct word should be used with the correct word. If you don't use, regular vocabulary, using less common vocabulary, how often you can use less common vocabulary? In the sense, maybe some words which are not what we say in our day-to-day life. So there could be some words which are more interesting than a common conversation or a natural conversation. So slightly better vocabulary, but not very flowery words, not required. And how many ever errors you can reduce in terms of word usage, like not using the wrong word. For example, if I say you can find him sitting in his cuticle, you'd be like, hey, wait a minute, it should be cubicle, not cuticle, right? So avoid these kind of errors. How well you can do that, right? So that again would take you to a score of 9. The better you are, the closer you are to 9. Grammar. How well you use your grammar, in the sense sentence structures. Again, don't be repetitive like my mother loves chocolates, my mother loves me, my mother does this, my mother does that. Don't be too repetitive. Try to have a sentence variety. Use a range of grammar tenses. So talk about the present, past, future. Try to use different tenses. Even if you're talking only in the present, then try to use the present tense, the present simple present, present continuous, present perfect. Try to use a mix and match of tenses so that there's some variety to it. And of course, avoid grammatical errors. So instead of saying that because of this I think that he can do something, don't say he can does something. Okay, you'll say he can do something. So avoid those kind of errors. This again, if you do all this, you can go to a score of 9. Pronunciation. So how well you pronounce your words. That means you need to be understandable. That's all. Pronounce doesn't mean you have to have an accent. Okay, you just need to say the words very clearly. Okay, how well you can use intonation. Yesterday we spoke about intonation. It's about a variety in your tone. Okay, so if you want to say, oh, such a lovely day. Okay, you can say the same thing as, oh, such a lovely day. Okay, so I'm just saying your tone really matters. You can say something in a very bright way. You can say something in a very dull way. So whatever you want to communicate, that should be coming out appropriately. If you're happy about something, say it in that way. If you're sad about something, say it in that way. Choose the words in that way so that your intonation comes out well. Like I said, accent does not affect understanding, so don't bother about your accent. Accurate word and sound pronunciation. So accurate word pronunciation and sound pronunciation. So you should try and use the words they are regularly used as. Okay, so for example, if I use a word like predilection. Okay, there's a word called predilection, which means having an inclination towards something. Now, instead of saying predilection, if I say something like predilection. Okay, I'm changing the sound. Okay, so don't do that. Don't change the sound of the word. Use the word as it is commonly used. Otherwise, don't use that word. Then use something else which you know. Right? So if you're doing all these things properly, again, you can get that score of a 9. So just some tips before we move on to the different parts. Don't memorize your answers. Lots of students say, ma'am, should we by heart the answers and go? It won't help because the questions can be anything and different. Don't use big and unfamiliar words. Keep it as natural as possible so that you don't fumble and make mistakes, or the examiner doesn't understand the word that you're using. Use a range of grammatical structures. I covered this with you. Don't worry about your accent. You can pause and think. So when the examiner asks you a question, you can actually pause, think, and then reply. You don't have to be like a parrot, but as soon as the question is posed to you, immediately you're giving a response. Hold on, think a bit and then answer. There's no negative marking given there for you to think. Avoid using fillers, so words like basically, usually, or stuff like that. That is basically going to slow you down or sounds like you have nothing to say. Extend your answers as much as you can. Okay, so try to extend your answers, but then again, don't sound too repetitive. Remember, the more you speak, the more they're able to judge you on all the 4 parameters. If you're very concise or precise and to the point in your style, then they don't get a chance to judge you. They don't get a chance to give you that score of 9. Right? The lesser you speak, the lesser they can judge you and the lesser will be your score. The more you speak, the more you show off your speaking skills, the more they will be able to judge you. So try to speak as much as you can. You should always smile while speaking. Don't keep an unpleasant demeanor. Okay, always keep a pleasant demeanor. Of course, if you're saying something where you feel that you need to make a face which is not very pleasing, go ahead, but mostly keep a smiling countenance. Don't speak in a monotone, as in try to make your tone sound like it has a lot of variety to it. Don't just keep speaking in the same way. Like I think, for example, in today's class, I'm just speaking in the same tone. Am I not? Like I'm just explaining. So don't do that. Try to add some variety to your tone, okay, to the way you speak. Like some answers you may have like let's say if you're talking about gifts. So for example, in some answers you may say, oh wow, I love to receive gifts, for example. Similarly, you could say that nobody really gives me gifts. So there is a difference in the way you're actually saying it. Practice common IELTS topics which you can get from any online resource. Try to use only the official IELTS resources for the same. Part 1, you will have 4 to 5 minutes conversations with the IELTS examiner about yourself. So it will include very general topics like about your work, about your family, about your home life, personal interests, and so on. Part 2, you will be given a card with a topic. Okay, you will be given 1 minute to make your notes on the topic. Obviously, you'll be given pencil and paper, and then you have to speak on the topic for 2 minutes. So they'll give you a cue card with a topic. You have to go through the topic and make your notes for 1 minute. They will time you, and after that 1 minute, you have to speak non-stop for 2 minutes on that particular topic. And finally, your part 3, you will have a conversation with the examiner somewhere around part 2 itself, discussing it more in detail. Okay. Part 3 should take about 4 to 5 minutes to complete. So please treat it as a general conversation and do not stress or get nervous about anything. Initially, part 1 is where the examiner introduces himself, checks the identity, etc. Gives some follow-up general questions for about 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, what is tested here? How well you're able to communicate opinions and information on everyday topics. and common experiences or situations by answering a range of questions. Usually, there are 12 questions based on 3 topics about yourself, your life, your country. But this I've just given as an example. There could be many other topics. Okay, there could be various topics that you could be tested on in general. All these topics can be found on official IELTS resources online. So let's see a sample. I want you guys to listen to this.
My name is Samson. Would you please tell me your full name?
My name is Sarah Odeima.
Thank you. May I see your identification?
Sure.
Please? Thank you. In the first part of the exam, I will ask you some personal questions. Are you a student or do you work now?
Presently, I am working as a teacher.
Okay. And why did you choose this job?
I chose to become a teacher because I felt like teaching is part of me. And when I am in the classroom, I really feel happy that I help my students improve themselves in a wide range of areas. And what I like most about teaching is I feel like I'm elevating the level of the knowledge of my students.
Okay. Is there anything about your job you would like to change?
Not really. However, when I come to think of the payment, I wish I could go back in time and opt for another career because of the low payment. Sometimes it really brings me down, and it's the thing that really keeps me frustrated all the time.
Right. I'd like to move on and ask you some questions about shopping. Who does most of the shopping in your household?
Well, actually, it's not only one person who does the shopping for the household. I would say it's a shared responsibility, and everyone has a role to play in the household. So we always tend to go shopping together.
Okay. And what type of shopping do you like and why?
What I like most about shopping, when it comes to shopping, is buying presents for my friends or maybe people's birthdays or even Christmas. My favorite store is a bookstore, which is in the list of my top priority. And I believe if I buy a book for someone, it is not only considered a gift, but also I can help that person gain another piece of knowledge. So it brings me a great sense of satisfaction.
Great. And is shopping a popular activity in your country? Why not?
It is indeed. On Thursdays and Fridays, people pour into the streets and shopping centers. It is considered more as a leisure activity than just, they are not aiming to buy something practical. So I see that most teenagers and people go shopping, go sometimes window shopping, or they wander around the mall. So I don't think they buy something practical for.
Okay, so what type of shops do teenagers like best in your country?
Well, I haven't thought about this before, but obviously, like any other teenagers, they are much more into shopping clothes, makeup to beautify themselves, or maybe some music stuffs, and these kind of things.
Right. Okay, let's talk about films. How often do you go to the cinema?
To be honest with you, I don't even get to go to the movies. I only manage to watch 1 to 2 films every week. And after a long day of teaching, what I love most is, snuggling up on a sofa and watch my favorite film, which really helps me unwind. I usually do this on Fridays.
Right. And what type of films do you like best?
I'm very much into drama and historical movies because it can help me gain a better understanding of the historical events in the past and even about the human emotions in the past. So I believe there is always something to learn from the past events, historical events, and even to pass it on to the upcoming generations in the future.
Wonderful. Okay, that is the end of part 1.
So what did you guys think about it? There were 3 topics. I think initially he started about her job. Then he went to shopping, and then he went to films, right? So he talked to her generally, and I think she also replied back generally. I think she got a band 8.5 because first of all, she sounded very honest and fluent, and the way she was communicating, I think she made a few mistakes here and there, but otherwise it was quite flawless. So you need to follow. I'm not saying you do the same thing, but it's simple. I mean, all you have to do is just speak very clearly. That's all. So part 2 is that individual task, okay, where you have to speak alone. Part 2 is an individual long turn, meaning you just have to keep talking and talking for 2 minutes till the interviewer actually asks you to shut up. The examiner gives the test takers a task card, a cue card is given to you. It has a topic followed by around 4 sub-questions. You need to answer all those 4 sub-questions. Even if you answer 2 or 3, you may not get a full score. Okay, so try to answer them as much as you can, all 4. If you want to see a higher score, that is one thing. Test takers are given 1 minute to prepare, as I mentioned earlier. So they'll hand over a card to you. They'll tell you, okay, now you have 1 minute to think about this. They'll give you pencil and paper and you can make your notes. Students ask me, ma'am, can we look at the notes and answer, etc. Yes, you can look down time and again, but it should not be very obvious and you should not stop speaking, basically. Okay, so you can look down once in a while to see what you have written, your points, whatever you have written, that is given to you to make your points. But at the same time, you should not look clumsy in the whole process. It should not look like, okay, now you're reading and speaking at the same time. So all these things look a little unprofessional. Test takers should then speak for 2 minutes. Like I said, you have to keep speaking till the interviewer asks you to stop. Skills tested, the ability to speak at length. What are they testing you for here? Whether you can speak for 2 minutes non-stop or not on a given topic. Okay, using proper language and grammar and organizing your ideas in a logical manner. So basically how logical you are and whether you can speak continuously for 2 minutes or not. It's just like when we call our friends and we are gossiping and we're talking for 2 minutes non-stop. It's the same thing, okay? They've given you a topic, you just have to talk about it for 2 minutes without expecting anyone to talk back to you. This is something that you could see here, a part 2. Describing an interesting job you would like to have. Okay, here you have to describe. They'll give you a cue card. Cue card meaning they'll give you this entire thing. They'll give you a topic. Describe an interesting job you would like to have. What do you have to say? These are the 4 points, sub questions. What the job is, what skills it requires, how you could get these skills, and explain why this job is interesting. You will have to talk about the topic for 1 or 2 minutes. It says 1 or 2, but again I'm saying 2 minutes. You have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You can make some notes to help you if you wish. So you have to make your notes on the side immediately, and then after 1 minute, the speaker will expect you to start speaking. They will tell you that, okay, now you may speak. Let us see this band 7.5 sample.
One of the most interesting jobs for me is psychology and relationship counseling in particular. To be honest, I've been considering becoming a psychologist myself until recently, but this field really demands a lot of special skills, and in order to gain them, you have to have that formal training. So first of all, you need to go to university to do either a 3-year bachelor's course or a 1-year master's conversion course. After that, you have to undertake a 2-year supervised training in one of the clinics. After that, you can start counseling yourself, though. It definitely takes time, but that's not the end of the way, because you also have to get a professional certification and probably do a PhD. Only after that, I would be regarded as a highly qualified and hopefully highly paid psychologist. So in order to get these skills, you definitely have to go to university. And I think this job is one of the most interesting and actually a promising job to have at the moment, is because it involves interacting with people, but not just chatting, but getting to know people on a deeper level and learning what drives them, how they determine what they do in their life, and actually how relation. That's it.
I think she deserved a 7.5 because if you compare her to the first speaker, first of all, we couldn't understand her very well. Okay, the accent which she had was making it difficult for us to understand, I think. But she still managed a 7.5 because of the main things that were tested here. What they were testing is not the language or the accent. What they were testing is whether she can communicate non-stop for 2 minutes, which she did. Okay, they had to literally stop her. And secondly, she covered all the points. She covered each and everything. So she covered all the 4 subtopics as well as the main question. So that is what can get you to a minimum of band 7.5 in part 2 specifically. So part 3, like I said, is going to be a discussion. In part 3, the examiner and the test taker have a discussion one-on-one related to the topic usually in part 2 in a more general and abstract way. So let's say if it's talking about gifts, like describe a gift that you received, tell us who gave it to you, what was it, when did you get it, and how did you feel after getting it. Maybe a follow-up question in part 3 could be something like, do people usually gift things in your country? What do people usually gift in your country? Would you encourage your children to learn the culture of gifting in your country? So more general and abstract questions like this. So this part lasts for about 4 to 5 minutes. What are they testing here? The ability to express and justify opinions, like how well you can actually state your opinions, whether you feel gifting is a good idea or not a good idea, and whether children should be taught the idea of gifting or not, and all those things. Right? So how will you analyze, discuss, and speculate certain issues? So let's listen to one band 8.
Person who you like or admire. And I'd like to discuss with you 1 or 2 more general questions related to this. Let's consider, first of all, being in the public eye. Famous people are watched by everybody. What are the advantages and disadvantages of that?
Okay, the advantages is that a lot of people watching you, so you become famous, and there are a lot of things which you can do correctly and politically right, because there is media watching you, and you can go ahead and pass the message to the media in a right way. The disadvantage is that you have to be diplomatically correct. At times, if there are certain things which are incorrect, still you have to go ahead and do that, which doesn't make sense, because there are a lot of political leaders, they are into corruption back in India, and at times, there are some things which are wrong, but they have to do it.
Why do they have to do it?
Because there's a lot of political pressure, and if they don't do it, the political party would not support them, and in the end, they have to resign.
Do you think the media plays a role in that? What is the media's approach to reporting what famous people do?
Well, media plays an important role. At times, media will actually show things which are not correct, or if you see it, it looks like, he's wrong, but that's not the case. So, media plays a very important role. They portray in a wrong manner at times, and sometimes they do portray in a right manner.
Can anything be done about that, do you think?
Not really, because in today's world, what has happened is everything is communicated by media, television, news, internet. So you just have to go ahead and probably call the media and do a meeting and answer questions to the public and give justification and reasons.
Very often the media reports on the most trivial things, important issues, but people are fascinated by those things? Why are people fascinated by it?
Because these days people like to listen to gossip and trivial themes. They're not interested in the bigger part, what's happening. They have a simple life. They would like to live it their way. They are not bothered what is happening within the country. There are only few people you see are really interested in knowing about the country and getting all the information and reacting.
Let's go on and talk about this celebrity culture. How are famous people used by advertisers nowadays?
Famous people are really used for advertising because one, they can promote the product, and two, there are a lot of fans, their fans. So obviously if they are using that product, what will happen is those fans will actually use that product, and of course it's a money-making business. I mean, if Mahatma Gandhi wore a watch of Swatch, I would wear it. Yeah, I would wear it. I was like, oh, he wore it, I'll wear it.
The use of famous people in advertising and other things, do you think that has a negative effect, especially on young people?
At times, yes. There are some of the advertisements which are not meant or not, they are offensive to younger generations. So at times, yes.
Do you think that famous people can influence public opinion beyond just selling things? They can make people vote differently or believe?
Yes, they can. They influence a lot of people today. Even cricketers or any kind of famous personality, they influence the public, to do things.
How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with that as long as, at times I do like, but then at times I don't like, so I don't bother much.
All right, well, thanks, Kush. That's the end of the speaking test.
Thank you.
You have to understand what this part 3 discussion is going to test you on. It is not testing you on your accent. It is only testing you on your opinions. So I think she was strongly opinionated in this case. And she was really sticking to her opinions as well. So I think she discussed her opinions in a pretty good and confident manner. And I think that is why she got a band 8. Honestly, to get a 9 is a little tedious, I would say. Okay, a good score would be anywhere that is 8 plus. If you want an 8 plus, the best way to do this is practice in front of the mirror. For 14 to 15 minutes, keep talking about a particular topic. If you like, you can also do this with a study buddy or a family member and ask somebody to record the session, or you can just keep your camera on a tripod stand or something and record the session, and then later you can observe how you have performed. Okay, just one piece of advice is try to be a little formal and try to dress formally when you go for the interview, or even if you're taking it from home, make sure that home isn't on the video call or something. Make sure that you are wearing formal clothes.